Are you ready? Today is Thursday, March 15th. That means that April 18th is when we file the taxes. So we have about a month until that tax deadline. So we're going to find out how we can get ready so that you're not rushing at the last minute trying to get those taxes all ready.
That's right, and you can avoid paying heavy penalties and even an audit if you file on time and correctly. And here to show us how to do that is Brian Bauer with American Tax Centers. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Welcome.
No problem. How's everyone doing this morning?
Very well.
Great.
Very well. I guess, you know, as we get closer to this deadline, probably the most important thing should be documents. I mean, what kind of documents can people get ready before they see a tax person?
Well, unfortunately, right now we're seeing a lot of foreclosures and short sales. So the important documents for that is you have to have the documentation from the banks, the 1099As or the Cs, to show that property that was sold. And that's very important right now because if you don't have the proper documentation, you could have a heavy tax liability if that's not handled properly.
Wow.
And probably all their receipts and anything
Right.
they can grab, right?
Anything they can grab, W-2s, mortgage interest statements, regular interest, if they had stock transactions. A lot of people forget about that by the end of the year. They have to have all their brokerage statements.
Oh, wow. Now, you were talking about the foreclosures, and of
Right.
course, it's been a tough economy for,
Yes, it has.
for a lot of people out there. So if you owe money and you say, you know what, I can't pay, what should you do? If you can't pay, should you still file? And you know, what procedures should you take?
It's a very good question. Absolutely. We get a lot of people that come in our office, and the biggest excuse they make for not filing is, I knew I was going to owe, so I didn't file. That's really the worst thing you can do, because if you don't file, you automatically get a 25% penalty for failure to file. And if you should just file anyway, because the IRS has a lot of plans to get people into compliance to help you pay, have payment plans, and some people qualify, they don't have to pay at all. And they reevaluate that every 12 months. So if you don't file, they will eventually catch up with you, and the penalties are pretty heavy. So even if you can't afford to pay, you should still file.
Come up with a plan, yeah.
You know, a lot of people try to do it online, and we understand that that could be tricky if you don't know exactly what you're doing. But tell us, you were a former state auditor. I mean, how much trouble can people get or if they file wrong?
They can get into a lot of trouble. The problem with doing it online yourself is if you have some sort of complicated issues like a foreclosure or you own a business, if you don't know the ramifications of those numbers and where you put those, it will compute whatever you have, but if it's wrong, it's wrong. And we've seen a lot of people that have used the pre-canned tax preparation softwares, and we've had to go back and correct those tax returns. And unfortunately, they get the right amount of tax after we correct it, but they still have the penalties and interest.
Yeah.
And of course, it's always best to plan ahead. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if you want to contact Byron yourself and you have some questions, take a look at the information there on your screen. You can go visit him at AmericanTaxCenters.com, and we'll be right back.